My name is Michael Turner, and I live in Dallas, Texas. For years, I worked as a family lawyer, watching people walk in and out of courtrooms, often broken, frustrated, and confused. I saw marriages end, friendships collapse, and children get caught in the crossfire of disputes they never asked for. But in all those years, nothing stirred as much heated debate in my community as a new law that was passed just last year, a law requiring mandatory paternity tests for every child at birth. The idea wasn't new. For decades, people had quietly whispered about the possibility of such a law, debating its merits and flaws in small circles. But no state had ever dared to implement it, until now. Texas became the first state in the country to officially declare that every newborn would undergo a DNA paternity test, with the results stored in confidential state records. The reasoning, according to lawmakers, was simple: the truth matters. Too many men were unknowingly raising children who weren't biologically theirs, and too many children were being kept from knowing their real fathers. The law was meant to bring clarity, honesty, and accountability. But of course, not everyone saw it that way. The day the law was announced, protests broke out in front of the Texas state capitol. I remember driving by, watching signs waved in the air, "Our bodies, our privacy," and "Trust mothers, not DNA machines." Women's rights groups called the law invasive, discriminatory, and insulting. Some men cheered it as a long overdue measure of fairness, while others quietly admitted it made them uncomfortable too. For me, the whole situation was deeply personal. I had represented countless men in paternity cases, some who discovered too late that they weren't the father, and others who desperately wanted to be in their child's life but were denied. I also worked with women who feared being unfairly judged or shamed for mistakes in their past. This law, it seemed, brought all those emotions to the surface at once. The first case under the new law. One of the first families affected was the Johnsons, David and Emily Johnson, who lived in Fort Worth. David was a firefighter, quiet and dependable, while Emily was a nurse, warm and well-liked in her neighborhood. They had just welcomed a baby girl, little Sophie, when the hospital informed them that, as part of the new policy, a DNA swab would be taken before they left. Emily was furious. "This is ridiculous," she told the nurse. "I'm married, I love my husband, and now you're going to treat me like some kind of criminal?" David, on the other hand, shrugged it off. "If it's just routine, then why not?" he said. But Emily wasn't alone in her outrage. Across the state, social media exploded with angry posts from mothers who felt insulted by the implication. The phrase, mandatory paternity, trended for weeks, with celebrities, activists, and talk show hosts weighing in. Some argued it was government overreach. Others claimed it was finally protecting men who had been lied to for generations. The Johnsons' case took a dramatic turn when the results came back. Sophie wasn't David's biological daughter. The fallout. I'll never forget the day David came into my office, holding the paper with the results. His hands trembled as he dropped into the chair across from me. "She told me she had made a mistake years ago," he said quietly. "Before we were married, she had a short relationship with someone else. She thought the timing didn't overlap, but I guess it did." His voice cracked. "I love Sophie. She's my daughter in every way that matters. But now, I can't look at Emily the same way." Stories like David's were exactly why the law had been passed. But they were also the reason so many women were protesting. To them, the law wasn't just about science, it was about trust, family, and the painful cracks that the truth could create. Public reactions. Within months, television debates became a nightly routine. On one side, men argued that the law was about fairness. "Why should a man spend 18 years of his life supporting a child that isn't his?" one commentator shouted. "This protects families from betrayal." On the other side, women's rights advocates fought back. "This law assumes women are liars by default," said another. "It places mothers under suspicion and invades the sanctity of the family." Even churches and community leaders weighed in. Some pastors praised the law as a step toward honesty and accountability, while others warned it could tear families apart unnecessarily. A story from Houston. In Houston, a young man named Jacob Martinez discovered through the mandatory test that he was, in fact, a father. His high school girlfriend, Melissa, had never told him she was pregnant. For years, he had worked 2 jobs, thinking he had no children. When the hospital records matched him with a newborn baby boy, he was stunned. Jacob told me later, "At first, I was angry she kept it from me. But then I realized I had a son. I wasn't going to waste another minute." He went to court to secure visitation rights, something that never would have happened without the law. For him, the test didn't destroy a family, it created one. A divide between men and women. As months went by, I noticed a growing divide in my own circle of friends. Some women I knew felt personally attacked by the law, even if they had never cheated. "It feels like the government is saying we can't be trusted," one friend confided. Some men, meanwhile, said the law gave them peace of mind. "If I'm raising a kid, I want to know the truth," one father told me. "It's not about trust. It's about reality." I began to see that this debate wasn't really about science, it was about emotions. Trust, betrayal, loyalty, and honesty. Words that hold weight in every relationship. Courtrooms overflow. The courts in Dallas, Houston, and Austin quickly filled with new cases. Men filed lawsuits to challenge child support orders, while others sought custody after discovering children they never knew existed. Judges were overwhelmed, trying to balance the cold facts of DNA with the warm but fragile bonds of family. I represented both sides. One week, I stood beside a father demanding justice after discovering 2 of his 3 children weren't biologically his. The next week, I held the hand of a mother begging the judge not to let a test erase the love her child had known since birth. Every case was heartbreaking. Every case was complicated. The national debate. It wasn't long before other states began watching closely. News outlets across the country reported on Texas, calling it a social experiment. Some states quietly drafted similar bills, while others swore they would never go down that road. In Washington, D.C., lawmakers debated whether this was an issue of privacy or equality. Should the truth of paternity be a guaranteed right for every man and child? Or was it an unnecessary intrusion into the sacred trust of families? Polls showed the country almost evenly divided. Roughly half of Americans supported the law, while the other half opposed it. Rarely had I seen such a split. My personal reflection. As a lawyer, I deal in facts. DNA is science. It doesn't lie. But as a human being, I've seen how messy life can be. Families aren't built only on biology, they're built on love, sacrifice, and shared experiences. Did the law protect some men from deception? Absolutely. Did it also rip apart families who might have otherwise lived happily without knowing? Sadly, yes.